I feel like the West is as wide open as it's ever been. The difference between the 12th seed and the first seed is a 3-game difference. In the Eastern Conference, that's the difference between the 3rd seed and the 1st seed in the East. In the West, it's a 12th and the 1st. OG, I want to get your thoughts on the Western Conference first. What do you feel about it? Do you think there's a clear-cut favorite? And do you think it is wide open?
When you think about, I went back 20 years. So the 2000-2001 season, you had 7 teams of the 8 playoff teams win 50 games. But with that being said, we all knew that the road to the NBA championship went through Los Angeles because Shaq and Kobe were there. As good as San Antonio was, right? As good as Dallas was, as good as these teams was, as good as Portland was, we knew that the road to the NBA championship, it went through Los Angeles. I'm looking at what's going on right now with the NBA and the Western Conference. I can't tell you which team I think is going to win the Western Conference. I mean, like he just said, we got a separation from 2 to 11. I think it's 1.5, maybe 2 games.
Yeah.
So you can have a bad week and you can go from hosting a playoff series to being in the lottery. Add that to the fact that we don't even have one specific team. I always felt like before the season started, I felt like the road to the NBA championships goes through Golden State. Only except as good as they've been at home, where they're 9-1. They've been equally as bad on the road. They've lost 9 of 10 games.
Yeah, it's like
so
opposite.
I can't
Literally.
I can't say with 100% certainty that I love Golden State coming out of the West. Same way I feel about Phoenix. As good as Phoenix is, we've seen them go to pieces in the playoffs. So Denver is still getting themselves healthy with Jamal Murray, who I'm also thankful for that he's actually healthy and he's looking better. But am I sold on Memphis winning the Western Conference Championship? I am not. The Clippers, me and Rib went at it about these guys about a month ago, and we already seen what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, both Leonard and Paul George are out indefinitely. So the entire Western Conference, I can't really put my finger on one team and go, that's the team that's going to represent the Western Conference, as opposed to 20 years ago when I saw the Lakers, as good as everybody else was, I saw the Lakers going, if you're trying to get to the NBA Finals, those are the guys you got to go through.
I agree. A similar comparison I would make also is the 2010 Western Conference, where 8 of the teams that made the playoffs won 50 games or more. Yeah. You had the Lakers at 1 with Kobe Gasol, the Mavs at 2 with Dirk, the Suns at 3, Steve Nash and Amari, the Nuggets with Carmelo, the Jazz with Boozer and Darren Williams, the Blazers with Brandon Roy and Aldridge, the Spurs with Duncan, Ginobili and Parker, and then the Thunder at 8 with a young KD, Westbrook there. I've basically put the West into different tiers, and I've named them, right? So the contenders in the West for me, the Nuggets I think are contenders. I think they can make it out the Western Conference for sure. A healthy Clippers team, and that's a big question mark. But if they're healthy, I put them in that contender bracket as well. And then the Warriors, if they get a better bench. I think if the Warriors make one move that can strengthen their bench, they can be right up there again, because their starting lineup is the best in the NBA. It's their bench that's been the biggest problem. Then the next tier I have is, if everything goes right, I can see it. First team is the Pelicans. If everything goes right, I can see it.
I'm glad to see that.
I can see them doing it with CJ, Zion, BI. They have the right combination of wing defenders. They have Jonas who can play through the post. They have a lot of versatility. And I don't see a team in the Western Conference that, for a 7-game series, can hold off Zion, get into the basket.
That's a fact.
Outside of maybe Memphis, that would be a bad matchup for them.
Okay.
The Suns, I can see it. What's holding me back with the Suns is just Chris Paul's age. And do I really trust Cameron Payne? I don't. And that's why if everything goes right, I can see it. The Grizzlies.
He's actually been better, though, Joel. He's actually been better.
Yeah, he has been better.
Cameron Payne has been better, but keep going. I'm
Absolutely.
Sorry.
And then
CP3's absence.
The last team I have in this tier is the Memphis Grizzlies. You get Desmond Bane back, Jaren Jackson's healthy, John Morant. They have a great bench. We've seen them give the Warriors fits before John Morant got healthy in the playoffs. I think they're that team that's young, and they've been waiting to ascend. They got the experience last season. I can see it. So, my pseudo contenders and contenders altogether would be 6. But then I have rugged playoff teams, which they can give any team in the playoffs a run for the money, and it'll be a competitive series. I think the Blazers are there with Dame healthy, the Mavericks just because they have Luka, and the Sacramento Kings. I think the Sacramento Kings are just a really great offensive team. And if they can figure it out somewhat defensively, it'll make them a bigger force. Then I have a tier with one team.
Oof, dude.
Then
you need if you're gonna do this to just have the Wolves by themselves. Just put them.
I was just about to say, because you already out on Minnesota. Are you out on them?
This is the tier I have. I said figuring it out. The T-Wolves. They're figuring it out.
They have been.
No, that's why I have them here. They're figuring it out. I have them in their own tier. Will eventually make a move to get worse. The Jazz are there, and then no man's land is the Lakers. And the lottery, Rockets, Spurs, Thunder. Those are my tiers.
Where the Jazz?
Will eventually make a move to get worse.
And
that's so you don't have him in.
And that's low key where the
I don't have the
Warriors could turn up.
And where the Wolves, once they do figure it out, which tier do they fall into?
Rugged playoff team.
Okay, so they're not round contenders.
Right now, with how they've been playing, I don't trust them enough. But I have them in that. If they figure it out, they're a rugged playoff team.
The Lakers do have a direction. It's wherever Anthony Davis takes them.
That's it.
That's not
no doubt about
that's
that.
The answer.
I just don't know if I want him.
I view the Lakers in no man's land right now because
a little bit.
You do have AD playing well, but despite how great he's playing,
we're winning games
with an easier schedule that you guys been having.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, but I just don't trust Anthony Davis. I don't trust Anthony Davis' health for the entire year.
That's facts.
LeBron has already gotten hurt. And the roster's just bad. It's just all around. It's a bad roster.
I hate to say you're wrong, but you're right.
So altogether, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Lonnie Walker, though.
I have 7 tiers. I have 7 tiers in the West. It just, for me, with how the Wolves are playing right now, it didn't make sense for me to put them with a rugged playoff team.
See, you said it perfectly. They're figuring it out. They started off as bad as you could be for the expectations that everyone had on them, but slowly but surely they've been playing very good basketball.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards is starting to find himself. Cat and Gobert are starting to finally get comfortable with one another. The pieces around them are starting to find their role. D'Lo, slowly but surely, is just not playing anywhere near as bad as he was to start the season. The Wolves are going to be okay.
I mean, they just won 5 and they just won 5 in a row.
It's like
they lost yesterday. They won 5 in a row.
The Pacers were cooking. They met the Wolves. The Wolves handled them in Indiana.
We'll talk about the Pacers, but I do think the Pacers have benefited tremendously from a very
light schedule.
So you have 6, just so I don't like.
No, it was 6 teams that can make the finals in the West.
6 teams that can make the finals.
That I feel like as of right now,
I'll tell you
confident.
What, I think you were generous with the Clippers.
Yeah,
I was shocked to hear them in that tier.
Because if they're healthy, you have to put them different.
Sure.
Because if you're putting the Clippers there, but then the Suns are in that next tier underneath, that's where I'm kind of there's a little disconnect.
The Suns have a great system, and that's why they've been able to plug and play whoever, and they've been able to win games still. But in the playoffs, you need stars.
Because listen, this is coming from someone who I was very low on Phoenix.
And D-Book is the only star in Phoenix.
That's
I'm gonna disagree.
6 is a lot, man. 6
it is.
6.
It seems like the West right now makes things more interested for those tier 2 and 3 teams rather than that top of the tier. I don't know. 6 feels like a lot to me. I still have faith in the Warriors figuring it out. And you have the Clippers. You had the Warriors in the first tier, right? And the Clippers as well, just because of the talent with the Warriors, just the history there. But it makes things more interesting with those tier 2 and 3 teams like the Grizzlies, the Pelicans. I know you've had some of these in tier 1, and the Mavs, who coming into the season, we didn't really have them in that championship contender. But with the West being so open, especially if the Warriors are going to struggle, because coming in, it seemed like the Warriors were really that one team that you could look at all the other teams in the West. You give them a couple games here and there, but we didn't really have any team, maybe the Clippers if they could say 100%. But if the Warriors are going to be, their bench is going to be this bad, and as OG and Riv, you mentioned, they're going to be this bad on the road, then it makes these second-tier teams have a chance and say, you know what, we can make a move at the deadline to put us over the hump, whether that is getting to the Western Conference Finals or eventually the Finals.
The Mavs just have no roster outside of Luka.
Yes, but I mean, and you know how I feel about the Mavs, but even still, if the West is more open this year than it was last year, if they're not going to run to a juggernaut in the Warriors how they were.
Joel, my question to you, Joel, is why you keep bringing up the Clippers? What kind of evidence have they given you to suggest that these guys are a contender? What have they done for you?
Well, if I can rebuttal that and to ask this question, what have the Suns shown us in the past 3 years to convince us that they're going to the finals?
They went to the NBA finals. How about that?
I'm talking about after that, though. Like I'm talking about after that, the year after that, they just got bounced.
Luka was playing otherworldly basketball, and not that's an excuse. It's not an excuse because they should not have lost the way that they lost.
No, they shouldn't.
Luka was playing an exceptional level.
Chris Paul's getting older.
Monty got outcoached, and I think Devin Booker wasn't able to handle double teams well. I think he's worked on that.
Chris Paul's getting older. DeAndre Ayton, we can agree, isn't going to be that player this year. You know what I'm saying? It's just Devin Booker. You know, their depth is okay.
It's not been playing solid though.
No, but I'm saying he's not gonna be like that number 1 pick talent.
Also, I'll say that Dallas
you don't need him to be that.
I think you do when Chris Paul's getting older.
If you want to go to the
That
finals,
I feel you, but they have just a solid all around team. We can't
They,
forget.
no,
about
they have a,
Mikal
but they
either.
their system is one of the best systems in the regular season. But I think when it comes to playoff time, like when we talk about like it's November, right? So when we talk about seeding and stuff like that, a lot of teams look good because a lot of their systems fit for
Are
the
they the
regular
new
season.
Utah?
But when it comes playoff time and you get to sit there and actually coach and you actually get to game plan for a team for 7 games. How many of these teams do we actually trust is what I'm asking. Because there
it's a
isn't
small
6
list.
teams
It's a
that
small
we
list.
trust
How many do
for
you
a
trust?
7-game series.
I mean, do you trust the Clippers?
I trust Ty Lue.
All right. Do you trust the Clippers?
I don't trust him because of health.
Okay, thank you.
That's a big
I
thing,
just
though.
wanted you to
Yeah,
stay
I don't
consistent
trust- I
there
don't
because
trust
you
him 'cause
can't
of
trust the Suns because you think that
I
that's
don't trust the
regular
Suns
season
because
thing.
of their ability.
But I just want you
But
to stay
Clippers 'cause
consistent.
of health,
All right,
yes, I
so
don't trust the
how many
Clippers.
teams do you trust? Is there a team to trust?
The Pelicans are a wait and see.
I
'Cause
respect that.
They're a wait
Yes,
and see.
I'm with
the
you.
Timberwolves also a new team, wait and see. Memphis, I will have to say I trust them a
Okay,
little bit.
I'm-
I'm not gonna lie, I
thank
trust them a little
you.
bit.
I
Because
trust them a lot of it.
No,
I
because
trust them a little bit.
because OG,
Memphis is
that's
like that.
that's one of those when you were going through your spiel, you were saying, I don't know if I can trust Memphis.
And
What does Memphis do that makes you think I can't trust this? Ja goes
Well,
out, we're still winning games.
if Desmond Bane
goes
keeps playing
out.
like this, I can trust him a
that's
lot.
fact.
And-
Jaren
and I'm
Jackson's
glad-
come back and he's been playing very good basketball.
I need him to up that
And
3-point
well,
percentage.
well, the prime example would be what happened last year in the playoffs. I mean, if Ja was able to stay healthy, I think they got a better shot against Golden State. Add that to the fact that earlier in the season, I mean, he broke down for a month.
Yep.
Which would explain why I can't trust him, because at some point Ja's going to break down and it's going to be detrimental to his crew. Now I can appreciate the logic that they've been winning without him, but when we get to the playoffs
We need
where
him.
I can only scheme for you, add that to the fact that I'm taking out 27, 28 a game out the lineup. Do we have nobody else to cover that? That next man up logic? Well, that next man up logic only works in certain areas.
Yeah,
We
regular
don't
season.
have an answer for losing 28 a game for 3 weeks. Or we don't have an answer for losing 27 a game for 2 games in the playoffs, because those 2 games could basically mean the series. That's what explains why I don't trust Memphis as much as other people do.
There's a brand new fantasy app. It's called Boom Fantasy. You got over-unders, player props. You got matchups. This player versus that player. That's personally my favorite, and long shots. You can win 40 times your money. And if I'm not mistaken, Joel, NBA is coming soon.
yes, sir. NBA will be in the app in the next 10 days or so. You know, I believe opening night is October 19th, so we'll have stuff up a few days beforehand. That's going to be fun because we have it every night. You don't have to wait till Monday,
Did
Thursday.
you get your code? For the
For
league
what?
pass?
I did get my code
I
for
got
League
my
Pass.
code too.
Yep, that's amazing.
That's from 2K, right?
Yes.
That's tough.
amazing.
That's fire.
So if you guys haven't already, download the Boom Fantasy app right now. Link is in our description or in the caption wherever you're watching.
Last year, we knew that Golden State Warriors matchup was going to be tough for the Grizzlies. But now we're in 2022, and we're sitting at this table coming to a consensus. There's no team that really is clear cut. So
We also knew it reversed though. We knew Memphis would be the toughest series for the Warriors.
Very well said. But now we're here in 2022, and what team do we feel that the Grizzlies can't go in and beat right now? I feel like there's no team I look at and think that the Grizzlies can't beat outside of maybe the Nuggets, because a healthy Nuggets team is
It's all
one
about
that
matchups.
correct. Correct.
Yeah, so
And that Nuggets team is a tough matchup for them.
I agree.
I still feel like the road to the NBA Finals goes through Golden State, but the way that they've
That's
been playing
respect.
on the road,
Yeah.
they look like, they could be a first-round exit, because they can have a team come into their building and get a game, and we've seen how they play on the road, because after their first 5, let's call it what it is. They are garbage. Let's call it what it is.
No,
They
yeah,
are the worst. They are. I believe they're the worst team in the league defensively. They're the worst rebounding team in the league.
Yes.
Kuminga has not developed as much as I would like to see him develop. The Golden State Warriors got me out here thinking that James Wiseman can't play. They got me for real thinking that this dude can't play. I don't know if that's
He
true or
been
not,
killing it in the G
but
League.
G
they
League
got
is
me
nice.
thinking that this dude can't play.
But I'll say to that, first I want to answer your question about the Clippers. The trust I have in them really circles back to 2020 when they made the Western Conference Finals with Kawhi getting hurt.
2021.
Yeah.
2021, yeah. 2020, 2021, whatever. So that's why, to me, I say if you have Kawhi Leonard, you probably beat Phoenix. So my trust is only in their health. And I don't even trust that. So I only have them as contenders if they're fully healthy and they're ready to go for the
Understandable.
playoffs.
Yeah.
But I don't believe the Clippers are making it out the West. I'll say that right here. I don't think they're going to make it out the West. To me, the favorite right now that I would pick would be the Nuggets.
Yep.
I think the Nuggets, Aaron Gordon has been playing tremendously defensively.
Very
Jamal
good.
Murray's only going to continue to figure it out. MPJ is one of the best spot-up shooters in the league. He is improving as a defender. Nikola Jokic is the best center in the league by far. And KCP adds a different dimension defensively that they didn't have in years past. And you look at their bench with Bones Holland and Bruce Brown, I'm really infatuated with the Nuggets. And to speak on the Warriors, they just need to make a move because the starting lineup is the best in the NBA. But when you get to the bench, they have to blame themselves for this because you let go of Otto Porter, of Bielitsa, of Gary Payne II, even JTA, even though he
that
didn't
one
contribute
hurt.
much.
To get GP that hurt.
So
that one hurt.
You're now going from veterans to trusting a bunch of young players. James Wiseman, maybe in a different system, he'll look better, but to this point, statistically and according to the analytics, he has been one of the bigger detriments to any teams winning. Thus far in his career as a rookie, he was horrible. Right now, he's horrible, and that's why he's in the G League because he has proven not to be a serviceable NBA player. Moses Moody hasn't figured it out yet. Jonathan Kuminga is having growing pains. The only players I trust off the Warriors bench is Anthony Lamb and Dante DiVincenzo. So if they can make one more move,
I'm gonna be honest. I can't watch Anthony Lamb for a 6-game series. I'm just sorry.
Yeah,
it just can't happen.
Yeah, you trust him in
I'm
the regular
sorry.
season.
Can you handle it, Rev? Rev, can you handle it?
No, I won't watch it.
got
I'm
Bruce Brown,
sorry.
bro.
I will tune that shit out. He cannot be on the court for a 7-game series. No, DiVincenzo, yes.
Yeah.
Poole, you just have to. He gets paid $30 million.
that's why.
Lamb, no.
Jordan Poole off the bench too.
Yeah.
That's why I think if the Warriors can maybe trade for a starting caliber center like a Jakob Poeltl and now have Kayvon Looney off the bench, I like what the Warriors are building, and Jakob Poeltl gives them rim protection.
Kelly Olynyk could be cheaper than Jakob
Fuck that. What do you mean Kevon Looney off the bench?
Jakob Poeltl's a better player than him.
Yeah, but
But
you wouldn't
Kevon
put Looney on the
defensively,
bench.
that's facts.
No.
Kevon defensively has been.
It's not even that. He
Jakob
just
Poeltl's a better defender
No,
than
he is a better.
Kevon
But
Looney.
Looney knows the system.
Correct,
You
he
wouldn't put him on
does.
the bench.
All right, I guess,
Yeah,
but I'm
respect
just
Looney.
from a talent
Nah,
perspective,
no, but
he's better than Kevon
He
Looney.
is, but respect Looney. He's starring.
But even if you can have a bench of Jordan Poole, DiVincenzo,
Hey,
Anthony Lamb,
that's the ideal
Jakob Poeltl, I think that's good.
You probably give up a first for Jakob Poeltl, I'm assuming. I feel like for Kelly, it's such a cheaper price tag, and Kelly's going to do a job for you.
Kelly gets paid what?
He's got
12
playoff
mil?
experience.
And I only
too.
well the Spurs
Spurs
are,
at 8.
the Spurs are going to be in the business of trading as well, but Utah specifically.
Listen, my thing for the Warriors, realistically, is just if you can get a top 5 seed, I think you'll be
You're
fine
good.
because
Yep.
there is nobody you're gonna. First of all, even last year they were the best home team in the playoffs, or either 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
You get into the playoffs, you're a top seed, top 5 seed. There's nobody beating you at home. You still like the Warriors have. The difference between them and the Clippers is the Warriors have that starting 5, and when you have that starting 5, there's nobody in the league that can pound for pound beat your
and it
starting
also
5.
helps that Steph is still playing.
Yeah, so it's
he's
like
the
it's
best
just
in
like
the
you said,
game.
it's just about getting another guy on that bench because DiVincenzo has been fine. Poole is going to get better, and then you got just one more. You just get one more guy. You can plug in one of them young guys; they'll figure it out. But you can't play Anthony fucking Lamb, Moody, and Kuminga at the same time. Even Jermichael Green, he missed 5 layups the other day. Lost my mind how he missed all them shits. But you just need one other guy. Clippers, I agree with you. Got to be healthy. With the other teams, it's really just like it's so tough because the Pels, you want to believe in them. They have the wing, the 3-level scorer.
Sure.
They have the dominant presence in Zion. The fit is just so funky, and I feel like Zion and BI aren't utilized as much as they need to be. And then JV, as good of a player he is, does not fit with Zion. Herb Jones, he misses a lot of open looks. You know, and CJ McCollum, he's starting to get it a little bit, but he's been up and down. So they're a team like Willie Green. I feel like he's the guy, but I don't know if they're ready yet. You know what I'm saying? With Memphis, they're kind of like Pelicans in a sense, but I think they're ready.
Earlier.
Can't
Yeah,
this
I
also
think they're
be
like
the
2
year, though?
years. I think they're like 2 years.
If
early.
there was a year not to be ready, it's probably this year in the West. Since you don't have that team
Maybe,
that
but
you
you're still
going to
run into a Memphis. You're still going to run into a Denver. You're still going to run into a Golden State. Like, you're still going to run into one of them teams.
But the Pelicans are 5th in offensive rating and 8th in defensive rating. They're
You could still give one of those teams a run. We saw the Pels do it last year with the Suns.
We saw it last year. We saw the breakout, the ascension at the end of the last season.
Oh, you talking about with the Pels?
With the Pelicans.
Yeah. It's just so tricky.
Without
I don't know.
Zion.
And I also think too, Reb, to add to your point, that this team looks a lot different with a lead guard. Now I understand what CJ's doing, but CJ, how much better he would be off the ball. The reason why they look as funky as they do with Zion and Brandon Ingram is because they don't have a director on the floor. They don't have a Mike Conley type of guy, a distributor that can get them easy buckets, that can get them direction. They just kind of look like they're just going. And that works in certain areas. But when you're in the playoffs and teams get to scheme against you and they recognize that you don't have a lead guard, they attack that. I think that what I do is I put them in the same category as where I had Cleveland last year. Cleveland was Donovan Mitchell away from being a legit top 5 seed because now they got that wing scorer that they can go through strictly for buckets, and they do have all the other stuff. Now you look at the New Orleans Hornets, they have that one thing it's that one thing that they're missing, that lead guard. They got everything else. If they can get that lead guard, I think that they are right in the middle of it.
It's also what happened to Point Zion. Point Zion, when he took over that role with the Pelicans, that's when we really start to see that offense ascend.
And that's not going to happen.
But you also understand that allows versatility to the offense as well. He's talking about McCollum wanting to play more off ball.
Zion can't play point better than CJ.
No, he cannot, but it's still a different.
I don't want neither of them playing point.
I'm not disagreeing, but it allows a versatility to that offense.
The biggest concern with the Pelicans is that what you said was perfect, because that's why the lineups with the Pelicans have looked better with Jose Alvarado most of the time. He's more of a point floor general than CJ, and he's a good defender against shorter guards. The Pelicans have holes you can exploit. Zion is not a good defender. Jonas, he can get schemed out defensively of a playoff series. CJ McCollum has never been a good defender, and Brandon Ingram, he's okay.
They need that Jose, Herb, Murphy, Zion, BI lineup is nasty business for a small ball team.
That's a fact.
So there are players on the Pelicans that defensively you can exploit. Where with Memphis, I don't see it that it can be exploited as easily.
I'm with you.
Or the Phoenix Suns, I don't see it that can be exploited that easily.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So that's why the Pelicans, it is funky, but if Zion is who we think he should be, then in the playoffs, I do expect him to elevate his game. Offensively, they'll keep up with anybody. But if they match up against the Nuggets, Nikola Jokic is going to destroy that matchup. He's going to destroy Jonas. The Warriors, that's not a good matchup for the Pelicans either. And the other teams like the Clippers, I just think when you have both those guys healthy with Kawhi and PG, defensively, they become a different team. Because it's almost to the point like the Clippers.
They're top 10 defense right now.
They just have so much wing defenders on their team. Norman Powell's not playing better. Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum, even Terrence Mann, who barely gets minutes. They have so many wing defenders that it's going to make it tough for any team in the playoffs if they're fully healthy to play offense against them.
Yeah, I think
you and this Clipper logic, man. You killing me with this Clipper logic. I swear, man, because it's the same thing.
With the Nets?
Not only is it the same thing with the Nets, it's the same thing with the Clippers every year. Depending on what they do, depends on health. And now where's Leonard? Now where's Paul George? This is the difference with this team. As good as they are, this is how good they can be, only except we don't have this. And it's almost like you got to plan for that with this team. And if you're going to have to plan for that with this team, I don't understand how we can put those dudes in that category with the other teams like the Golden State Warriors, like Denver. We can't put those guys in that same category. I just can't do it. I'm out on the Clippers.
Isn't that what the Clippers are doing right now, preparing for the playoffs?
Yeah, hold on.
Be extra cautious with these guys, because let's be honest, we don't really care if Kawhi and Paul George are playing right now. We want them to be good. We want them to be good for April. We want them to play.
OG. What have we said about Denver for the past 2 years?
What have we said about Denver in the past 2 years?
If they're healthy,
right,
they can what?
They can win, sure.
What's the same thing for the Clippers? If they're healthy, what?
Well, here's the difference, though. The difference is Jamal Murray doesn't have a history of injury, right?
That's true.
Joker doesn't have a history of injury.
No.
Now we do know that we do know about KPJ, about
MPJ. Yeah.
I'm sorry, we do know about him, but other than that, they don't have a history of injury. So before Jamal Murray blows out his ACL, we got the Denver Nuggets right back in the middle of it.
That's
before
fair.
MPJ gets hurt, right?
That's fair.
With Kawhi Leonard and with Paul George, this is a reoccurring theme every season with these guys.
Before Kawhi blows his knee out, they're in the finals, possibly winning it.
Absolutely, they're in the finals. No question about that.
Like,
even though
the Bucks may have beat them, we're not gonna go into that hypothetical, but we know for a fact they beat Phoenix.
Beat the Suns.
We
but
know
also
that happens.
With the Clippers, it's not like it is injury. The majority of it,
it's a lot
specifically
of them.
with Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, it's all
with Paul George, it's injury, and also he doesn't perform.
Hey,
which is a big deal, Joe. Which is a huge deal.
Last year, PG performed, but in the bubble, he is the reason they choked.
No, I'm not. That was in the bubble. That was different circumstances.
We're going on 3 years now.
In OKC, he wasn't that good in the playoffs.
He was great against the.
But the year they went to the Western Conference Finals,
one of the years,
amazing.
Yeah, against the Blazers
versus the Blazers.
He choked the year before.
Yeah, versus the Jazz.
So you only as good as your last, baby.
Yeah, I was saying
In Game 7 in Indiana versus LeBron James, he choked.
the
Now we're going a decade back.
He has these moments.